For those of you who don't know me, my name is Janelle Cronchi, and I am the Employee Giving Program Manager here at King County. And I absolutely love my job. I see myself as a professional idealist. I get to make the world a better place every day with each and every one of you. It's pretty cool. As I know from talking to all of you that you feel the same way about your job. And for many of us, we have a relationship going back many years, and so I'm thankful to see you again this year. For those of you who are new, I look forward to getting to know you and the relationship we'll get to build over the coming years. Also, for those of you who have been with us for a couple of years, you also know that we've gone through a couple of systems trying to get this just right for you. And I'm really looking forward to this year's online application process. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about what the Employee Giving Program is. And then we're going to talk about the application and eligibility. We're going to talk about what to expect after you apply. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about why workplace giving. There's a huge vacuum in the nonprofit space around workplace giving in general. And because of that, there's a lot of questions that my nonprofit partners have. And so I try to set you all up for success in upfront by doing some education around workplace giving. Not to mention, I'm a big fan, not just of our program, but of workplace giving in general, and the tool that it can be for you as a nonprofit and for individuals in their strategic giving. And because there's this vacuum of conversation around workplace giving for nonprofits, you're not always able to take total advantage of it. And so I feel like this is a good value add for you. And feel free to reach out to me anytime to talk about workplace giving in general. And of course, our program specifically. The King County Employee Giving Program, we are the workplace giving program for King County government employees. It gets a little sticky because there are a couple of other government entities with similar names, but we're not the same. You'll hear the King County CFC. That's actually the combined federal campaign. And that is for federal employees who happen to work in the geographic boundaries of King County, but they're actually working for the federal government. Sometimes you might also hear the combined fund drive. That is the state's program. And they have a team here in the King County area, and they refer to themselves as the King County CFD. I know, right? So many acronyms, and a lot of them have King County in them. So we are the King County Employee Giving Program, so for employees of King County government. And we are governed by King County Code. That is one of the key components to successful public sector workplace giving programs, is that they have some legal framework for their work. All charitable solicitations of King County employees must be done through the Employee Giving Program. There's sometimes some misunderstanding because in private sector organizations, often the solicitation isn't governed by itself. Only if you want special access do you have to go through any kind of application process. That is not the case here. Only nonprofits that have applied and met our eligibility requirements can be in our program and can solicit King County employees for donations. Also, we not only conduct the annual giving drive in the fall, which is our biggest line of business, not just for you, but for our employees as well. And that's where they do all their pledging. But we also do natural disaster relief throughout the year. We are going to be launching a volunteer program in the coming year. We also do our own workplace giving resource and coordination, and we do policy research and development. And last but not least, we also do employee engagement and development, where we're literally engaging and training cohorts of employees in order to make the world a better place here at work. Also, our employees may give currently in 3 ways: through payroll donation, time donation, You'll hear more about that later, and it's super cool. And they can write a direct check. In the next year, they will also be able to give by credit card and their volunteer time. We are committed to a couple of practices here at the Employee Giving Program. The first is that we're committed to researching and implementing best practices from around the country, not just benchmarking. We really want to try to be the best run program for you and for our employees. The other is continuous improvement. We are constantly asking you for your feedback, trying to implement that feedback and measuring and improving our products every day of every year, because we want to be able to be as efficient as possible for everybody and be as effective as possible. Also, we are also a member of the Corporate Volunteer Council of Puget Sound. That's a great question. Is anybody else's sound cutting off from me? Please put a chat in the chat box if the sound is cutting off, and I'll see if I can try to fix it. Okay. Huh. All right. Maybe it's me. We'll see. Okay, I've adjusted my headset. Let's see if it works better. Thank you for letting me know. There are 3 different applications, but 1 portal. So don't be too confused by this. But we have 3 different kinds of organizations that apply to the King County Employee Giving Program. We have independent organizations. We have federations. I saw that Global Impact is in the house. They're one of our federations. And also we have governmental units. Independent organizations, which are 99% of you, this will all apply to you. Where there's going to be any divergence, I will say federations and governmental units, this is what you will do next. There are total about 15 of you guys. So I'll make sure to point that out. Also, all of our organizations are applying online. If you need any help with that, I have been known to sit down and literally help people walk through the online application process step by step. I'm totally happy to do that. We also have an implementation guide that helps with definitions and guidance on what we would look for in a document request or an audit in backing up some of the eligibility requirements. Oh, this is so cute. Okay, so I thought I'd actually taken this out to update it for this year, but this was the easiest ask I've had to do in months, possibly years. The only possible improvement would be to have an ounce of high quality chocolate pop out of my computer upon submission. This was one of our nonprofit applications, nonprofits feedback from our first year going online, and it was so exciting. But something that we learned when we went online, we always knew it when we were on paper, but when we went online, we were able to measure mistakes and errors that were being made. And we were learning about your experience better. And we figured out how we could improve. And so that first year, 43% of nonprofits submitted an application that had an error on it. Last year, we got that down to 22%. This year, our goal is down below 10%. And we keep improving our application every year based on your feedback and experience in order to make it a better, error-free for you. Our platform this year is Microsoft Dynamics Portals. You can, it has the things that you've been asking from us for a couple of years now. You can save and return. If any contact that is associated with your nonprofit organization can now see that application, they can log in and see it. So if somebody else has to review it, you're filling it out, but somebody else technically has to review it. As long as they're listed as a contact, they can now do that. And you will have a visual warning for many of the eligibility requirements right away. It won't let you go forward on most of them. So if you have any questions about that when you get to that point, that's when you want to look back at the implementation guidance or give us a call. For returning organizations, you are going to receive an invitation code from us this afternoon. You don't necessarily need it, but the invitation code makes your experience smoother. And your information is going to be pre-populated as long as you are the contact that we have, one of the contacts that we have in the system. We're also no longer confined to 3 contacts in the system. Here are your tips for the online application. Write down the login information, because I suspect we're going to be using this going forward, not just for applications, but we're hoping to incorporate it. You guys are always asking me, hey, where do I log in to get my stuff? And I'm always like, we don't have a login. We just email it to you. Well, here you go. I know you all have a spreadsheet on your computer that has all of the 20 million different things that you have to log into in your password. So I'm sorry to add one more to it. But now you will be able to get all of those things and not have to email us or ask and have access to it. We also recommend that you have your required attachments ready ahead of time, saved in a folder. If you do that one thing, you're going to reduce the amount of time that it takes to fill out the application by half. When we went out and watched nonprofits fill out our application, that was the one thing, the barrier that got in the way of people having a smooth experience. So that is my top tip. Also, fields marked with an asterisk are required, and we recommend submitting early because that gives us more time to help you if there are any issues with the application. This is what our new portal looks like. I am so excited. Also a little nervous. It's always nervous when we do these things. So for those of you who were with us last year, just a quick comment in the chat. Who remembers the phone gremlins and breaking the internet? It was a rough year, right? Okay. So this should have no phone gremlins, and we should not be breaking the internet. And so this is what it looks like. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to sign in up in the upper right-hand corner. So when you get to your sign-in, if you're new or you didn't receive an invitation code, you're going to register for a new local account. And that's the one you're going to choose. If you received an invitation code from us in an email, then if you click the link in the email, the invitation code will automatically populate right there. But if you just take the invitation code, you can also just copy the invitation code right in there and then click register. The first page it's going to take you to is your profile page. This is for you, your personal profile page. So you're going to fill in some pretty basic information, your name, your email, your title. I'm pretending I'm the CEO. And then you're going to click update. When you're done updating that page, you're going to see the blue button there at the top that says let's get started. And that's going to take you to the next screen, which is our application overview. This gives you some links to important tools. The big due date in bright bold, April 27th. And some other information to help in your experience. Then next, you're going to click on Become a KCEGP Nonprofit. And this page is, it gives you some of the same tips and information I'm giving you today. It gives you an example of and blanks of those attachments that we need right on this page. All of that here. And then you're going to click Begin the Application at the bottom of the page. So here are the attachments. If you are returning, or I should say everyone needs this one, both returning and new organizations. So This is the Washington Secretary of State Charitable Solicitations Registration. I have an example in the slide deck here that I will show you, because this is our number one error, this attachment right here. So if you're returning, this is the only attachment you need. If you are new, there are two other attachments. We need a copy of a King County Substitute W-9. Notice I say here, do not use the federal W-9. So most of you have saved on your computer somewhere a signed W-9 that somebody in your organization's already signed, and you use that and you give it to anybody who requests it. That is the federal W-9, and we can't use that one. We have a King County Substitute W-9 that has to be filled out. And there is, not only on our website, but also in this application portal, a blank that you can download and fill out. And then you can either scan it, take a picture of it, whatever you want to do. And then a copy of your IRS determination letter. However, documentation should be on file with your organization to substantiate all of the remaining requirements. So here is the Secretary of State's, an example of the Secretary of State letter. There are two key ways that you know that this is the right letter. The problem is that the Secretary of State is actually responsible for three different registrations for our nonprofits. The first is your registration as a corporation, right? If you are based here in Washington, then you're also a corporation here in Washington. If you're based in New York, you don't have to register as a corporation here in Washington. They're also responsible for your charitable trust registration. I have to be honest, I don't totally know the difference between a charitable trust and the charitable solicitation, but I know the charitable trust isn't, I know that's a specific type of organization, and that is also not the one we need. The one we need, and this applies to everybody, regardless of where you're incorporated. So if you're incorporated in Montana or New York or Florida, wherever you are, Virginia, everybody who wants to solicit in the state of Washington, regardless of where you're incorporated, has to register with the Charities Program and compliance with the Charitable Solicitations RCW. And this is the letter. There's a couple of key things. So where the big red arrow is, it says look for a charities registration number or charities number. If that says trust number or corporation number, then you already know it's the wrong letter. The other thing that we're looking for is in the body of the letter. So not the date at the top, but the date in the body of the letter must be on or after April 27th, 2017. That's how we know that the letter is not expired. So it's not when they sent you the letter, but it's when they're telling you you have to renew your registration. Here's an example of the King County W-9, Substitute W-9, that you'll be downloading and filling out. This is only, again, for new organizations. And then a copy of your IRS tax determination letter. We don't need an original on this because I know some of you, your tax determination letters are from 1910. I just need a copy. So once you, I wanted to show you all of the attachments up front because that's our top tip, right? Save them up front in a folder. The first thing we're going to do after we hit that Let's Get Started button is to set up your nonprofit account. So we have to set everybody up as a partner account in the system. If you are receiving an invitation code, I have good news for you. You can skip this part. You are already set up. If you are already in our program, you are already set up with your partner account, and you don't have to do this step. So you can happily skip to parts 2 and 3. If you are new, though, you will need to set up the partner account. If you are on the call today and you're new, Here's my top tip for today. Go in and do this today, because the only thing I'm doing today is sitting next to my computer, answering questions and approving partner accounts to get you going. So it'll be fast. Otherwise, it could take up to 24 hours for the approval to come through, and you can't finish the application until that partner account approval comes through. So that is the first thing that you want to do. And I'm sure then now everybody's going, oh, when are we going to get the link? I'm going to put the link live on the website as soon as we're done here. And I'll email it out to everybody. When you're done setting up and submitting the information, you will then click on the Go to Part 2 on the page. In this section, you should be asking yourself, so while we're still here, in this Part 2 section that we're going to, nonprofit and contact information, ask yourself, how would a potential donor look for me? Here are a couple of tips that I offer for people. One, think about your name, right? How do people know you? How are they going to look you up? All that good fun stuff. Because this is the information in Part 2, nonprofit and contact information. This is the information that is going to get shared with our, where you indicate for the published information. That is going to populate our catalogs, our data, our website, all of that stuff. On this page, you'll be filling out your account information, so your nonprofit legal name, which is, so if you know the reference to the house there, feel free to type in the chat box, because I didn't and now I do, and it's very funny, but I'm apparently not cool, because I could tell you almost every Thomas Train, but I couldn't tell you what this reference was. So here we want your legal name, and then you're doing business as name. So that's the name that you want to think about how people would look for you. Federal tax ID, your King County Employee Giving Program code, that's assigned by us. So you won't actually be putting anything in there. We'll be populating that in for you. Your website, Facebook, Twitter, your nonprofit short description. So the nonprofit short description, a couple ways to capitalize on your short description. So 150 characters isn't a lot of real estate. But because there's so many of you, right, we have to provide equitable real estate to everyone, and in a way that's efficient. So we've got to keep it to 150 characters, but you will be asked for more information later. So you'll have a chance to share some more information. Don't put your name in the description, because your name is already going to go right above it. Don't start your description with "our mission is," because that should be evident by what the words are that follow. And so you're wasting the 150 characters on words that shouldn't be there. Use very active words and terminology, and keywords that might come up in an employee search. So think about that, what you do. Also, this is actually built so that's 180 characters. That includes the spaces, so there's some flexibility in there. Next, you'll be putting in your physical address. When you click on that box, it will actually pop out to fill in each line: address 1, address 2, city, state. Same with mailing address. And then we have a check address down below that. So the check address is only required if there is some place different that the checks should be mailed than your mailing address. And that is the case for some of our organizations. So you'll fill out the rest of the nonprofit information. And then as you scroll down the page, you'll get to contacts here. on this page, I want to point out a couple of key functions for you. So first, there is the blue Create button with the plus sign. And when you click on that, that's where you add contacts. And then they'll show up in the list below underneath that full name. You can add as many contacts for your organization as necessary. If you're returning, the contacts that I have for your organization will already be appearing there. Here's the even better part, is that then you can look at all of those contacts, and if people need to be deleted or edited, you can do it right from there. There will be a little blue down arrow next to the contact, and you click on that blue down arrow and it'll let you edit the information for the people. And then we want you to choose, once you've entered in all of your contacts, we want you to choose the top 3 of your contacts. Who is your primary contact? So this is the main person that we're going to call if we have questions and communicate with. The secondary contact, and then the finance contact, the poor finance person. This is the person who always gets forgotten on stuff. And then come check time, they're emailing me, asking me about stuff, and we don't have any idea who they are. They're not in our system, or they got missed. So please don't forget about your poor finance person, because they want the information too. And they can be the same person, but we want to make sure that we identify who that key person is so they can get the information they need. You'll then click Submit at the bottom. And after you click Submit, you might remember from the top of the page that there's the Go to Part 3 button. And you'll click on Go to Part 3. Part 3, excuse me, is eligibility information eligibility information and some other information. You'll notice that it kind of also covers the other 2 parts that we already did. That's because you can get to this page from the main navigation, and if somebody were to go here from the main navigation, we don't want them to miss the other 2 parts that are required as part of the application. And so we revisit those steps. So on step 3, so this is where I'm going to diverge for my federations and governmental units that are in the crowd. Federations and governmental units, you're going to have a different link down below the Part 2 button on the left-hand side that will say Governmental Units, Step Part 3, click here, and Federations, Part 3, click here. So you'll have a different link that you will go to. And so then we'll click on the Part 3, Eligibility and Additional Information. And I also want to show you that once you start an application, you'll see right there at the bottom, your application is going to show up as being in progress. And every time you answer a question, or the eligibility part, every time you answer a question, it's going to save that information. So this is what it looks like. The first part is just some more other information. So your service categories, make sure that your number 1 choice, your primary category of service, really is your primary category of service, that you're not just choosing based on the alphabetical list, because this is where your main listing is going to go. This is how our reporting comes out. There's a lot of things tied to that primary category. But then we do give you the opportunity to choose 2 more, because we know that a lot of organizations provide multifaceted services. And also you'll be providing links to, if you want that, this is optional, links to nonprofit rating agencies such as Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, Charity Navigator, and GuideStar, if you want to share even more information with our donors about your organization. And you'll see at the bottom of the page where it says Next Save. So each time you go through a different step here, it will be saving. The next section is eligibility information. This is, oh, I want to show you something real quick though. Oh, I'm not going to see it there. Okay, so on the eligibility information, you'll see that you'll be choosing yes or no answers or putting in information for the questions. And if you choose an answer that makes you ineligible, an error will pop up and tell you immediately that the application is ineligible. So our eligibility requirements, again, are based on best practices and 2 years of research. And these are some of the places where that research came from. We've had our current eligibility requirements now for 4 years. The first one is that you must be recognized by the IRS as having a tax-exempt status under Section 501c3, or you are a governmental unit of the state of Washington. That you are current with your registration with the Washington Secretary of State Charitable Solicitations Office, RCW 1909. At firm adherence to or claim a legal exemption from the non-discrimination policy. You must turn in a complete and on-time application. You must have been providing or conducting real services, benefits, assistance, or program services for 3 years. You must have an active governing body, your board, whose members have a firm adherence to a conflict of interest policy, and a majority of whom serve without compensation. And any compensated members do not serve as the board's chair or treasurer. We have a tiered financial review requirement, meaning based on your annual gross income. So if you have annual gross income greater than 1 million, then we require an audit. If you have annual gross income between $1 million and $250,000, then we require a financial review by a CPA. And if you have annual gross income of under $250,000, then we require an internally produced complete financial statement that was presented to the board of directors. For the greater than 1 million, there's one extra little kind of caveat. We ask the question, did you receive any in-kind services? Because we have some organizations, particularly food banks, that receive a lot of in-kind services that drive their annual gross income over 1 million, right? Or even 2 million. And so we asked, did you receive any in-kind donations? And if so, then was the total of your cash, the cash you received, 500,000 or less? If the total cash that you received was 500,000 or less, then we just require the financial review by a CPA. But if it's over 500,000, then we still require the audit. We also require, and we have you certify that you're in compliance with Washington state laws, that you won't sell or distribute donor list, that you'll provide documentation upon a request, that you are, there's truth in advertising, use of materials, that we can use your materials and information for marketing, that we can revoke eligibility in cases of fraud or change of status. You are in compliance with U.S. regulations and OFAC, and your application is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. So at the very end, so this is something to know for when you're putting in your contacts. At the very end, you will be choosing. So anytime you see the little search looking glass, magnifying glass, that means that there's choices to choose from. That's a lookup. So you want to click on that, and any contact that you've entered will appear there, and you can choose one of the contacts to be, whether it's the authorizing officer certifying the application, name of the person electronically signing it, right? Because the authorized officer certifying the application may not be the person who's actually submitting the application. We know that that's true for a lot of you, right? And then the contact who wants to receive the email confirmation of the application. And you will choose right there. And then, now if the person that you need to choose is not in your contacts, you will need to go back to the contacts and add them in. So this is a benefit of being here on the webinar. I can tell you right now, and that way you can think ahead of time when you're doing it and make sure that they're added in. And then on the, you'll see where you're going to choose the files. That's where you're going to upload your files. And then the blue button is when you submit. The cool thing this year is that, and you will see that green on the left-hand side, the green submission completed successfully will appear. The cool thing this year is that even after you've submitted it, if you need to go in and fix it and change it, you can come back and log in, and your application is going to appear down below there. And you'll be able to click that down arrow and edit your application and resubmit it, all right from this screen. So then the big one, applications are due online in Office, well, or Postmark, well, that's no longer true, but online no later than Thursday, April 27th, 2017. We will give you a chance to fix any mistakes, but be looking for that email from us. So just I want to give you the heads up, we will give you a chance to fix anything that comes through, but we may not have another 30 days to fix it. This is kind of what the overview of the cycle looks like, because some folks, right, are just received from us our pledge reports from last year's annual giving drive, and their first checks from the application that they did last year, right? So they're just getting their first money or about to get their first money from the application that they did last year. And so sometimes it's confusing for our organizations because of the overlapping timelines. So this is a really great graphic to display that. So you are applying today, right now, for our upcoming annual giving drive in the fall of 2017 for distributions in 2018. So, you know, we have a long-term relationship, friends. Also, if you are currently in the program, you still need to reapply and reestablish eligibility every year. We always get people, I have to go and call them after it's closed and let them know that they missed it, and let them know that they missed it, and then they have to apply through the appeal process because they didn't quite understand. So I want to be really clear. We have to have people reestablish eligibility annually. Also, this is a more detailed timeline, or our goal timeline, of what it looks like throughout the year. When specific things happen, when our annual giving drive is, everybody always asks, hey, when are your big events, your big fairs? They happen during the annual giving drive. So that's always the first Monday in October to the Friday before Thanksgiving. So this year it'll be October, nope, I don't have a current calendar in front of me, but first Monday of October always to the Friday before Thanksgiving. So for those of you who are wanting to save the dates, there you go. We have 13,800 King County employees, and that's what you're gaining access to. So not just the employees, but all of their families as well, right? Because giving is often a family decision. And it's not just, thank you, Erin. And it's, real quick, the question, does the system allow you to convert the application pages into PDF? No, but it will email you a confirmation of all that information for your records. So 13,800 King County employees and growing. It's amazing to work here with all of these folks. We do everything from public health to driving the buses to solid waste. It's so cool, the folks that we work with here. And they live and work and play, right, in the communities that so many of you are serving. And they are connected and want to be connected to the causes that you represent. I talked about how I was going to ask you for more information. Well, these are some examples of that more information. So some more facts about your organization, stories. I love being able to highlight stories because we know storytelling is so important. Stories and pictures and statistics about who you serve and how you serve. So this is really your chance to kind of shine. And we share a lot of our employees, about a third of our employees actually, a quarter to a third of our employees aren't on a computer. And so we put together these little packets and we send them out to their work sites so they can get more information on all of you. Every nonprofit has a listing on our website. So that's even more web presence for you. And this is what one of those listings look like on our website. So why workplace giving? Well, as you know, it costs money to make money. And I'm talking all the time with lots of people about how we talk about the value of that cost. I believe in talking about it constructively because there is a cost, and you as nonprofit organizations have to invest in that cost in order to make the money, in order to meet your missions. There is no question about that, and I am your biggest fan. I understand that completely. I'm excited to say that workplace giving is one of your more cost-effective options as part of your greater workplace giving toolkit. I never think that workplace giving should replace anyone, just like you would never replace, a special event with just your annual campaign, or a capital campaign is so specific, right? I mean, we have all of these tools in our fundraising toolkit. And for those of you who don't know me, I came from the fundraising world. And I think that workplace giving should be one of your tools in your toolkit. The nice thing is that it's a very effective, efficient tool to have in your toolkit. Workplace giving nationally is averaging about 16 cents to raise $1. We are averaging 8 to 12, but really it's been 11 cents the last 4 years. Incredibly cost effective. And so I'm pretty proud of that. I've worked really, really hard to keep our cost to you very low and consistent for you, so there's not a lot of surprises. Also, you have a unique revenue source through us. So in some ways, you can develop and steward donors right outside of the workplace. The nice thing is that when you're here, you are stewarding donors that are working, right? 13,000, 14,000 employed donors that are, you have a specific marketing, way to get your message out there. So it's pretty developed for you, but technically you could get, and sometimes you do, that money outside of the workplace, right? So even if there's stewarding a relationship that happens here, somebody could go and give directly on your website. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. But what they can't do outside of here is give time. We have something called time donation. Our employees can give vacation time. So they're paid time off, and they can convert it into cash for nonprofit organizations. It is a huge benefit for our employees and for our nonprofit organizations. So yeah, sure, private sector companies have matching gifts. We can't match gifts because that's against the rules. No public sector that I know of can, but we have time donation, and I think that is just as cool, if not cooler. Also, unrestricted gifts. So these are unrestricted. You can use them where your need is greatest. I know that is so important when so many grants and funding channels these days are very specific about how and where you have to use them. These are unrestricted dollars, so very valuable. I'm fully aware that you can't put on that really cool restricted grant program if you can't turn on your lights, right? So I am so proud that we're able to do that and help you build capacity in that way. It's very donor-centric because our employees can give all in one place at one time They can remain anonymous and still have everything they need for their taxes. Also, it is efficient. You get one report and one check, saving you time and energy. No kidding. I'm sitting in a training, an employee stands up and she says, I came from one of the nonprofits and I was that person who had to process all of those $5 checks. I can't even tell you how, awesome this is. And it is, because processing checks takes a lot of work. Also, it's low risk. There is no upfront cost here. I know that that's changing in some of the other public sector workplace giving campaigns, but that's not our model here. There are no upfront costs other than your time and actually filling out the application. And then we have low attrition year over year. In fact, workplace giving is has one of the highest retention levels. And I will get you exact numbers on that later this year. I'm doing a big analysis so I can tell you exactly what it is for us, but it's higher. What is typical retention? Like 45%. Ours is closer to 75%. And you're also getting marketing presence and leverage. So even if you don't get a pledge through the employee giving program, like specifically, you may have just gotten your next volunteer, or you're somebody who needed your service, right? Or somebody who's now become your champion because they know somebody who could benefit or want to align with your organization. One of my favorite parts about payroll donation is actually my story. So when I came to work at King County, right, I did a lot of fundraising for nonprofits, but I can never actually write a check, like the check, right? The check, the big one, the one that gets you on the annual report. And I always wanted to be that kind of giver, always. And I come here and all of a sudden my employer is telling me that for as little as $5 a paycheck, I can give to my favorite charities that are in the program. I couldn't believe that. I could totally do $5 a paycheck. And at the end of the year, that was $120. Now, if you were all standing here, right, how many of you would that get me on the annual report? There's quite a few of you. And I was pretty darn excited because finally I could write that check because I could spread it out. And the numbers show consistently that when people can do that, they give 3 to 6 times more than a one-time gift. And so we literally are moving people from buying a book, to building a library. Because they're not only then able to give more than they would give one time, but then that retention, right? There are 4 organizations since the day that I started working here at King County that I have given to every year. And that was 14 years ago. So I'm now not just a one-time impulse giver, and I'm not just an annual campaign giver anymore. Now I'm a major giver, right? I'm a major donor. And that is the power of what we offer to employees and to nonprofit organizations, is building these donors and supporters and relationships that sustain over time and can help people, empower people to do more than they ever thought they could do. So needless to say, I'm a little biased, I know, but I'm a huge fan. And that's where this love story began. And this is why I feel like I need to share it with the world and with all of you and making it a better place. I hope you liked our webinar today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, check out the website, give us a call. Okay, but don't call all at one time because there's one of me and you'll all go to voicemail. So, but I am going to be hanging out today if you need to call. We also have a few minutes. So if you want to ask questions in the chat box, please do. I'm happy to answer them. I look forward to seeing all of your applications. We will, like I said, be making the link live here after I get done answering your questions in the chat box. And Amanda, oh, you guys, Amanda, she's my lifesaver. Seriously, if you ever get a chance to meet her, yeah, it's her. She's awesome. Yes. We're very lucky to have her. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you, talk to you, email you over the next year.